Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Rose. I'm the county's public information officer, and this is a public information meeting. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide some answers in direct response to a number of questions that the county has received regarding the progress and process of construction for the NextEra wind farm, particularly as it relates to the impact of construction on county roads. I want to pass on to you that Board of County Commissioners Chair Dennis Heisey and Vice Chair Amy Lathen wanted to be here tonight, but in order to protect the integrity of the judicial process, which is now underway, they were asked by County Attorney not to attend this meeting. With that said, Jim Reed is the Executive Director of El Paso County Public Services. Under his hat are the county roads and the condition of county roads, the construction and maintenance of county roads, so he will lead off tonight's presentation.
I want to thank everyone for being here. I know it's a weeknight, Monday night. That's usually the start of most people's week, and it takes a lot to come out and do this, so I appreciate your time because that's real important to us. As Dave said, we're going to talk about the roads. Now, I receive constant emails and constant phone calls about the conditions of the roads as a result of the hauls that are happening. So behind the scenes, what you don't see is us meeting with the different organizations or the different companies and trying to figure out a way to fix those roads so that they aren't such a hazard or such a problem. So just keep in mind that we are addressing those. We do take those complaints seriously, and we are working on those. I have in my hand the website for NextEra that you can actually contact them, and also El Paso County Public Services if you have a complaint. So if you need a copy of that, let me know and I'd be more than glad. Just raise your hand. I'll go ahead and give that to you. Sure. Just give me a second here. And what I'm going to have is my engineer, John Clack, who's responsible for this project. He's going to speak about the haul routes and what we're doing at this point. So if I can see that show of hands again.
Thank you, Jim. Again, I'm John Clack with El Paso County Public Services Department, and I'd like to present some information on the haul routes. This here is one of the haul route maps, and as you can see on this map, we have some roads that are in yellow, which would be like Calhan Highway. We also have some that are in blue and some that are in green. Those are roads that have been identified by Blattner as haul routes. Now, Blattner is responsible for maintaining the roads that are on the haul routes. Now, of course, you see some of these other roads that are black. Those are roads that will be maintained by El Paso County. As part of the process, they put up a letter of credit. Now, if the roads aren't restored to a level at or better than the condition of the road prior to start of the project, we can pull that letter of credit and we'll have funds available to make improvements or bring the roads back up to that condition. So you can see on this all the roads that are identified as haul routes. Again, those are the ones that are in the green, yellow, and blue. And this is Calhan, obviously sits right here, and this is Highway 24 coming up this way. This is Harrisville coming across like this. You can get a pretty good idea. Also with these purple lines that are running through here in the blue dots are obviously the windmills. And those are the routes that they're going to be taking to bring in equipment and materials to those locations. So that gives you a pretty good idea of the haul routes on the northern part of the project. Go ahead, Dave. This is the southern part of the project. And you can see, again, the roads that are marked in yellow and green. Go ahead to the next one. This shows where they're getting water from, and they're going to be coming across and then up north and then tying into the other haul routes. I also have an 11 by 17 of the haul route roads available if anyone would like a copy of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't see what roads those are.
Okay. We've got about 25 copies here that I can hand out now, or we can do that later. Why don't you go on to the next one, Dave?
Yep. We'll start handing those out.
All right.
We're going to ever get to ask questions? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have stated that beforehand.
Yeah, I'd like to
Okay,
Got a question?
what I'd like to do is
Verify what you said about Blattner. They're gonna
Okay.
finish the road, and then if it's not satisfactory, our tax dollars are gonna pay to do it right?
No, that's not correct. Let me rephrase that, and I would also like to say that Craig Dossie would also like to give a brief presentation. I'd like to get through this presentation, and then Craig can present, and then if there are questions at that point, we'll go through those questions. But they put up a letter of credit, and if we determine that the roads aren't up to an acceptable level at that point, we would pull that letter of credit, and those funds then would be available for us to go back and bring those roads up to a level at least as good as they were prior to the start of the project.
But you're
That
still
is
gonna
money.
use county equipment that's paid for with our tax dollars?
No, it would, the entire funding would come out of their letter of credit, and that is money that that would be specifically used for the roads that aren't brought up to the level of service. We would not use county funds. We'd have to figure out exactly how we would do that, but what I would anticipate is we would hire a contractor to come in and complete that work. We wouldn't use our equipment, our fuel, our labor, none of that. So can you go to the next slide, Dave, for me? So El Paso County is coordinating very closely with Blattner to make sure that they're maintaining the haul routes. We also have inspectors that drive these roads on a regular basis to make sure that they're maintained to the proper level. At completion, Blattner will maintain roads and make sure that they're to the pre-project condition. El Paso County will continue the routine maintenance on roads that are outside of the haul routes.
Are you considering that these county roads are properly maintained at this point?
We would make sure
I
that...
just drove in on Harrisville, and I guarantee you it's not.
Okay. Harrisville is another specific road that I'll get to in just a little bit. This is a picture of one of the foundations for the windmills. I want to say about 300 cubic yards of concrete goes into each foundation. Go ahead and go on to the next one. Okay, here's Harrisville, and this is the slide I wanted to get to. They are doing what's called cement treating the subgrade on Harrisville. I believe it's about 5 miles worth that they are mixing the existing pavement and subgrade together with cement and water to bring it to the optimum moisture content, and then compacting that. And I believe when this process is completed, and I originally heard that it was going to take about 2 to 3 weeks to complete that work, that road will be a much better surface to drive on. Now, prior to them pulling off of the project, it will be required for some type of an asphalt surface to go on, and we're trying to figure out, we're in the process of figuring out exactly what that surface is going to be at this time. This is the information that Jim was handing out. So if there are specific questions on the haul routes themselves, they can go directly to that hotline. That will be the fastest way to get that information to them. They also have a website that has some information on it. Anything that's not a haul route or designated as a haul route, those comments can be directed directly to our office, just like normal, at the phone number below, which is 719-520-6460. And
Hello.
Craig? Yes.
Okay. Paint mine is not designated as a haul route, though we've got flatbed and Blattner trucks going up and down paint mine comparing it. I phoned in a complaint to the county roads, the number I had.
Okay.
Since the previous moisture we had, that road has been a wreck, and it is a bus route. What happened to maintaining that road, and why, if it's not a designated haul route, is Blattner running their semis up and down that road?
And Barrage Road.
I was not aware that they were hauling on Paint Mine Road.
They're hauling on Paint Mine Road.
They're driving anywhere they damn well please.
And they're tearing up our roads, and you guys are ignoring maintenance of these roads, especially on Paint Mine, and I've got a daughter that runs that. I've been for years trying to get you to haul a little bit of gravel in there to cover some of the soft spots that get to be treacherous when it's muddy. You wouldn't do a doggone thing but to rebuild all of Yoder Road for Blattner. And I can't even get you to come grade the doggone Paint Mine Road when it is tore up with trenches and ruts after a wet spell.
I was honestly not aware that first of all, that they were using Paint Mine Road, and Jim, did you have?
You don't realize that they're running on Paint Mine Road.
What was the
Oh,
other
I'm
road?
sorry.
What was the other road? Barrage?
Barrage Road, and
I
it
guess
goes nowhere.
looking at the haul route, there is a quarter-mile section, and that would be from just west of Courier to Courier. So it's about a quarter mile.
Highway 24 up past the Paint Mines and head north to Pond.
There should not be traffic on that road. If there is,
Guess what, there is.
I
live on it.
Yep.
I've seen them and I've watched them run the thing, so don't tell me there shouldn't be traffic on there. It's
Well, I
there.
guess from our point of view, they shouldn't be on the road. If they are, I mean, this is actually helpful information for us. I mean,
And we shouldn't see it again.
contact
After
Blattner
tonight.
and we will let them know that that's not on the haul route. They should know that it's, they should know the roads that are designated as haul routes and those that are not.
Is there
the
a set
problem
of
might
hours
be-
of operation for them running their trucks and running Jake breaks up and down the road? I heard of Jake running across Funk last night at about 11 o'clock.
I'm sorry. I would like to introduce Craig Dossie. He's from our Development Services Department, and he will be making a short presentation as well.
as John said, my name is Craig Dossie. I work in our Development Services Department. Many of you have probably talked to me on the phone or saw me during the hearings. To answer the gentleman's question, there is a complaint resolution process. You can file those complaints with Blattner at the information that was provided and handed out. They're required to keep a log of all complaints that they receive. You can also file that complaint with Public Services, or you can call me, or you can email me. My phone number is 520-7941. If you want to email me, you can email me at Craig, C-R-A-I-G, then my last name, which is Dossey, D-O-S-S-E-Y, at elpasoco.com. And just so you know, I receive complaints also. The first thing I do when I receive a complaint is I pick up the phone and I call NextEra and I call Blattner. Because first and foremost, this is NextEra's project. Blattner doesn't do anything unless NextEra tells him to do it. So the first person I call is David Gill with NextEra, and I say, David, we have a problem that needs to be resolved. If I don't get a hold of David, the next person I call is the construction manager for Blattner. And that's happened probably half a dozen times already, where we had a complaint about a stretch of Harrisville going east of Yoder Road. I called them probably 8 o'clock in the morning. They had a blade operator out there by 9 o'clock. So if you call me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call them. So if you have a complaint that you don't feel like Blattner is paying attention to, or you're not getting the right person at PSD, you can call me directly. This is what I'm doing right now. My role is project manager from start to finish. So if there is an issue, give me a call or shoot me an email, because I can guarantee it'll go to the forefront from there.
First and foremost, are you going to answer those on the weekend? And second of all, when I called Blattner to complain about Hurstville 2 weeks ago, I called the project manager and then I called his boss, Jason, and I was told by both people from Blattner that it is not their responsibility to fix the roads, that they will fix the roads when the project is complete.
That's not true.
Okay.
So to answer your question, let me answer your question first. She asked, will I get those complaints on the weekends? If you email me on the weekends, I'm constantly checking my phone. And I will call Blattner on the weekends to say we have a problem. So obviously I'm not in my office. I gave you my office number. I would love to give you my home number. My wife might frown on that. But if you want to email me on the weekends, I know you have my email. If you would like to email me, the first thing I will do is I will contact Blattner and say we have a problem. Now, whether it's a real problem or not, You know, we're gonna have to decide that, because we do have a crew out there on the weekends as well.
That's pure crap.
Let me talk. Our Public Services Department has designated an individual who will be out there on the weekends to inspect the roads. So I will contact that individual as well as Blattner to look into the problem on the roads. That's the best I can do. I can't tell you we're gonna fix it, because there may not be a problem. But the gentleman who's been designated to work on the weekends has been with the county for 30 years. If anybody knows the roads in the county, it's him. So we're going to have question and answer opportunity at the end. Let me get to my part of it. Again, my position as project manager, I've been working on this project since 2008. Before NextEra, before Fowler, when it was Clipper, I've been working on this project. So if you have questions, you want information on the project, you can contact me anytime. What I wanted to do today was just provide you with an update of kind of where we're at in the permitting process and construction process, so you understand what has already happened and what's coming. The turbine field is broken down into 5 circuits. So far, the county has approved construction of 2 of those circuits. Both of those circuits include a temporary concrete batch plant. One's the very north end up by Harrisville. The other one's the very south end down by Judge Orr. So that's what we've approved in terms of the turbines. One of the conditions of approval when the Board of County Commissioners approved the project was that they could not begin vertical construction of the turbines until they had their determinations of no hazard from the FAA. They have received those determinations of no hazard. So they will begin going vertical with the construction of the turbines as soon as they get their permit approved from CDOT at the intersection of Harrisville Road and Highway 24. That's the only thing keeping them from bringing turbines in at this point. 2 of the other circuits are currently under review, and 1 has not been submitted. I would, if I had to guess, I would say that those other 2 that are under review will probably be approved in the next couple weeks. So at that point, they will have 4 of the 5 turbine circuits approved and ready for construction. They have also taken up residence on Funk Road. That is the location of their laydown yard. It is also the location of the approved substation for the project, which will be the starting point of their transmission line. And it is also the location of their operations and maintenance facility. Both the substation and the O&M facility are going to be permanent facilities that will extend for the life of the project. The county has approved the eastern portion of the transmission line. If you remember, the transmission line changed its alignment from when it was previously approved to this most recent approval. They have decided to break that up into two different projects. The eastern portion runs from the project substation off of Funk Road to an area near Judge Orr and Curtis Road. Again, that has been approved, and they can begin construction immediately. The second portion is from that point of departure at Curtis and Judge Orr to the Jackson Fuller substation in Falcon. That portion of it is under current review. There is the likelihood that the FAA is going to have to approve some of the poles for the transmission line. That has not occurred yet, so that'll probably be one of the later portions of development. One of the things I wanted to point out, and the reason why, if you have an issue, certainly at least copy me. If not, also call me in addition to Jim Reed's group, is we're meeting with Blattner every week, every Wednesday for 2 hours to talk about not only the applications that are under current review, but also issues and how they've resolved those issues. So we're in constant communication with them. I've been out in the project probably 2 times a week. We have our inspectors out there every day. So we are maintaining a presence in the project area, but we're also meeting with them to resolve the issues. We're not just turning them over to them to let them resolve them. We're meeting with them face to face, and then we're going out and seeing how they've resolved those issues. So if you do have an issue and you feel like it's getting ignored, bring it to me, because I will be meeting with them every week. And we're going to continue to do that for the life of the project, not just during construction.
Out here, or do you guys live
I'm sorry?
in town? Do any of you guys live out here? So you're not going to see these turbines. You're not going to see these wires. You're not going to have all your water taken from you. Can we come take showers and wash our dishes at your house, bring our cattle? to your bathtubs to drink? You guys aren't thinking about us out here at all.
Ma'am,
So there's a lot of issues.
let me clarify something. The Board of County Commissioners has already approved this project. There's nothing that we at the staff level can do. The project has been approved to be constructed. Today,
Telling us that
today,
you're gonna speak for us?
let me talk.
You've already spoken for us, and look where we're at. And now you're standing there telling us you're gonna speak to Blattner and NextEra for us? Do you think we believe that?
All we
For
can
even
do,
a
listen,
second?
all we can do, we're the county staff. We don't make the decision whether or not the project can be constructed.
Y'all come
We're
from
just
the same
reviewing it.
place.
Sir,
Y'all come from the
sir,
same
if you're
place.
going to interrupt, we can have you escorted out of the building. We're trying to maintain a very civil meeting. If you would like to continue to interrupt, we have people here that can remove you from the
don't
meeting.
answer questions, so we have to interrupt.
We can't, the project is approved by the Board of County Commissioners. At the staff level, there is nothing we can do about that. And it will continue to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners unless they, for whatever reason, bring it up for reconsideration. But they have to have a basis for doing that. And right now, with the litigation where it's at, that's not going to happen.
However, they did break the rules of quasi-judicial procedure by not listening to both sides because...
We're not going to discuss it at this meeting.
However, that is true. I'm defending...
If you have any questions about the roads or about where we're at in the construction process, that is the purpose of this meeting.
Okay, so my question wasn't about that. I was just defending him. My question is, I have two questions. The first one is, have you measured the distance of the paths to the road? We've seen some excavation done for paths, and have you measured the distance of the paths to the road?
No, we have not.
Could you please do that? And I would like to put in a request, since they have a build zone, thank you, since they have a build zone, I would like to request that you honor the GE 2-megawatt turbine setback for 453-foot towers and put them at 900 feet, not 670, because that is dangerous for any school buses that drive that route. Thank you.
The location of the turbines was approved by the Board of County Commissioners.
And they have an envelope.
There's nothing we can change on that.
But there's an envelope.
Do you have a question about the roads
No,
or
this
about
is-
the construction progress?
This is actually a legitimate question.
Okay.
I have it written down, and we'll check into it.
Thank you,
Yes.
because we do have the right to ask for the 900-foot setback that GE upholds.
So let's do some research. into
Sir?
that.
Great, and I have one more
Okay.
question. We were promised that a significant amount of these lines would be buried, but now I've been told just today that none of the lines are going to be buried. And that's from turbine to turbine within the project itself, and so I just am looking for clarification.
All of the collection lines, which are the lines running from each individual turbine to the project substation, will be underground.
They are going to be underground.
Where the confusion might have been is on the transmission line, which runs from the project substation into Falcon, that will be all above ground.
Right, I knew that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back.
I'd just like to make a request, being your project manager.
Mhm.
You gotta remember, school buses are traveling on these routes. And I would request to Blattner Energy, being your construction people, not have their construction equipment at times drop off and pick up for school buses, because this is gonna be a major problem, where students are gonna be delayed waiting at road construction sites because they got flag men out there.
Right.
So that's something I think you could sit down and talk and work out with them, that they're not dropping off, not picking up during school hours.
Yeah.
when the school buses are going down.
And there was concern expressed by the school district when we sent it to them for review. They didn't have any specific requests, but I'll follow up with them to make sure that whatever's happening on the roads is not interfering with their routes.
And my only other question is, could you tell us where Amy Lathen is? I don't see her anywhere.
She chickened out.
County attorney can respond to that specifically.
Absolutely. My name's Amy Folsom. I'm the El Paso County attorney. A lot of you know what I do. A lot of you might not know what I do, but it is my job to represent the Board of County Commissioners Board, both as a collective and as individuals. I don't think it's any surprise that we have litigation pending. I don't think it's any surprise that once that happens, it necessarily chills the conversation that we can have. The fact of the matter is, this matter is now in court. Okay, the approval process has happened. The courtroom is the proper place for all of our voices to be heard. So if any of you have had experiences with attorneys such as myself, we always say to folks, let's respect the integrity of that process. Let's keep the discourse about the approval in the courtroom. And so that's why I specifically did direct Commissioner Lathen and Commissioner Heisey not to come today.
I thank you for coming, but she's our representative. She should be here.
I certainly understand that, and please know that she was fighting tooth and nail to be here. If you want to be frustrated about that, no, really, there were lots of people at that meeting today. But I'm only doing my job when I say to my clients, again, let's leave that discourse where it belongs.
I got a question for you.
Certainly.
Why is NextEra still pressing forward with a lawsuit going on, and if they happen to lose, these people here are going to have concrete pads when NextEra is going to walk away like they always done in Texas and the other couple of places?
I can't really get into the mechanics. I can tell you it's perfectly legal and perfectly appropriate. The approval that the Board of County Commissioners granted on February 5th still stands until and unless a court says that it shouldn't, or until and unless a court says...
So El Paso and us citizens are going to take, if NextEra loses, and I'm pretty sure it's a pretty good chance, these people here are stuck with NextEra's mess because they're going to walk away because that's how NextEra works.
I can certainly represent that's not going to be the case.
Oh, okay. Just like Texas. Okay.
Again, and I can't get too much into it. I'm happy to answer your procedural questions.
Hi, Deborah Meininger. This question is for Craig Hill. Quick question. What and date and where is this available online for us if it is? What dates were the engineering designs submitted and approved by your office and sent over to regional and approved there and with the permit process? Because when we checked a while back, the engineering designs hadn't even been submitted yet. Also, when did the Department of Defense approve for the construction? Because according to the online information for the turbines, they are still pending, not approved yet. When did the Department of Defense give that approval for the turbines?
I believe that approval was received approximately a week or a week and a half ago. I can get you the exact dates. And just so you know, I have a binder that thick of all the FAA determinations of no hazards. So if you'd like a copy, you know, there's a nominal fee to make copies at our office. You can come down. It's public information. It's part of their application. To answer your other question about the construction drawings at Regional Building, Regional Building has issued the construction permit for the foundations. Really, all it's going to take now is for me to reapprove the construction for the turbines, now that I have those FAA determinations of no hazard in hand. So, I mean, that'll probably happen, honestly, this week, because I do have evidence that the FAA has cleared them.
Okay, you have copies of that evidence at your office?
Yes, yeah. I have hard copies in my office.
Okay.
I think I have them electronically, too.
I left you a message about 4 weeks ago, but I never got a call back on it about the status of the permit.
Yeah. If you want to come down, I'd be happy to run a copy for you or even put it on a disc. Sure. And just so you know, it's this thick, but the first 3 pages of every one's pretty much the same. So it was actually provided in hard copy, and I also have access to a digital version, so I can burn it to a disc real easy for you. No, we can do one for you. No big deal. Just let me know when you're going to be in if you want to shoot me an email or give me a call.
Yeah, I'm looking at your map here, and you have the water source down here in Ellicott, but I've seen all the trucks filling up at High Prairie Point, which is 2 miles away from there, on Handle Road.
Oh, and we confirmed with the gentleman there.
Yeah, so that's where the tanks, and that's where the willow, and that's where all the trucks are. But your map's showing it's all, 2 miles away farther into Ellicott.
What'd you say it was again, I'm sorry?
It's at High Prairie Point and Handle Road.
Okay.
You can see it just driving down 94.
Yeah, it's 1.7 miles west of Calhan Highway South and 1 mile south of Highway 94.
Okay, we'll look into that. Thanks. Yes, sir.
What would be, is the county got a schedule of inspections as far as for construction of these towers, and then after their tower constructed, regular inspections of the turbines?
The inspection of the construction of the turbines is done by Regional Building, which is a separate entity from El Paso County. They have somebody assigned specifically to the project, I believe is here today. So they're the ones responsible for inspecting the structural construction of the turbines. We have our inspectors on site who are inspecting grading and erosion control measures, construction of the accesses, construction of the pads, not the concrete, not the footers, but the pads themselves. But to answer your question, the proper entity is Regional Building.
El Paso County Regional Building?
It's Pikes Peak Regional Building Department.
Okay. And so we'd have to address any questions as far as inspection schedules with them?
That's correct.
Yes, sir. In line with his question, the quality assurance of the construction of the foundations, the pads, as well as the construction of the turbines, are these regional folks here qualified to do that?
You would have to direct that question to them. They're the sole entity. The county does not have jurisdiction over the construction of the turbines. That jurisdiction has been given to Pikes Peak Regional Building, so you're going to have to direct those questions to them. Was there another question back here? Yes.
Okay, I just got mine here again. Also, don't see any information on how they're going to get funds to the local fire departments for fire suppression resources, equipment, and training. That's a concern that has been already voiced to the county commissioners with no feedback. Are you going to be covering that, Jim Reed, or is that part of Jim Dawson's department?
Hey, Chief Shane. Shane, you gonna have a problem fighting fires on these things? Okay. To answer your question.
Have you ever seen one on fire? All over the internet. 400 feet there, how you gonna put out 100 gallons of oil? Let me finish. What is the proper procedure for putting one out? We know. 400 feet, 200 feet
Are they?
in the air?
Who's here?
City doesn't have pumps that will pump that high.
Do you have the equipment? That's the question. And as next year in Texas, they promised funds to the local fire departments for equipment and training for that equipment. They were never given in 8 years until they decommissioned those sites.
I'll work with the fire chief on that, Deborah, and we'll check into that for you. I don't have an answer for you right now. Where's our?
We just want to make sure you got what you need. We don't want to come back with a mill levy, raising our taxes to get you what
We
you
have,
need.
Calhan Fire Protection District has never raised the taxes down here, and we have no plan.
Okay.
1991, the last time this district was taxed, that's when it became a district.
We just want to make sure you got
The
what
board
you need.
has no intentions of asking for any more money from anybody. We actually give money, we actually lowered it a couple years ago.
Okay.
So the district is fine. We're actually very fit and very strong.
Thank you.
For that event, for that potential.
He didn't answer that question.
Next Era has started working with us and training on their power for not only fire, but rescue. There is no equipment made to put fires out on the surface.
These things are 30 stories high. How do they have 30 stories high fires? You know,
Yes, those are buildings. They have stairwells and elevators. If one of these catches on fire, I have not seen any one of my people up in that tower for any reason. It's a fire. It's a piece of equipment. There's no light up there. There's nothing to say. We will take care of what comes down below it.
they spit fireballs.
We don't know. I'm not angry. I just don't understand why also the fire. Because I wasn't expecting. I was here to support whoever and just listen in. And also, I'm getting ramrodded with questions.
Oh, yeah, but we're not against.
No, I know that, guys. And I know you, John.
Against the fire department, or against the fact that there's nothing you can do to protect us out there. Nothing. There's, go on the internet. You can watch firefighters stand there and watch a tower burn to the ground because there's nothing.
There is nothing. No,
And
there's
they
not.
spit fireballs out hundreds of feet.
And these are 400 and some feet from people's houses.
We just want to make sure you got what you
We know, and we're working on it, but I can't, the fire department has no jurisdiction telling you guys, oh, you can't do that. We're out, we're just like everybody else in this.
We're telling the county they have to have that in place.
You guys to help with some of their training,
But we're working,
additional equipment that's gonna be necessary.
and we're working on it, Joe. We don't know yet.
Specific, okay.
I talked to this guy right here, and we've talked, and we're working on it.
Chief, if I may, I can thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. Sherry and I have a long relationship. We've worked together for a long time. So if there's something that he needs, he will get it. Okay. On the regional building, who asked if the inspector's qualified? Who was that asked the question? Okay, I actually have the inspector here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Welton. I'm the Chief Building Inspector with the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department. So to answer the question if we are qualified to do this, I'll give you my own personal opinion. I think we're one of the best building departments in the country. And one of the things that we do to make sure that we are covered on the liability side is we make sure our inspectors are certified. So every inspector that is going to be on site is going to have multiple certifications so that we make sure that our liability is covered as well as protecting the public at large. So we're really paying attention to who we send out on site. There's not going to be anyone out there on site that does not at least have a commercial certification which covers structural steel, which is mainly what this foundation is that's holding this thing up.
There have been a significant number of accidents in which the foundation gave way and the tower collapsed. And because the number isn't insignificant, I think people are concerned that it starts with a good foundation.
I understand totally. Actually, everything in construction starts with a really good foundation. So the good thing about this particular project is not only are you going to have us representing you on site doing the inspections, but we're also going to have multiple levels of oversight from third-party engineers as well. And even if an engineer tries to sign off on something that we notice is wrong, we don't have to accept the letter. We can ask them to correct it. Yes?
You said some of the certification was commercial certification on structural steel. What other certifications are they, do they already have, or which ones are also needed before construction can begin?
As far as the inspector certifications, the very first one that we require is a residential certification. The next step up from that is a national commercial certification. And then the third tier to that is a plans certification. All three of those build in complexity, if you will.
You said the third one is what?
The building plans examiner certification, which is mainly more of a in-house certification, if you will. Not necessarily, we don't offer it in-house, but that's what every plans examiner at our department is required to have to be able to review the plans.
So how many inspectors do we already have that have this certification?
Actually, every inspector in my group as of 2 weeks ago has this certification now, which is pretty good because 9 months ago only half of our group had it.
Has the next paid for that certification?
Absolutely not. It's just something that we internally have really started pushing, self-directed training and wanting to just get the inspectors moving in a direction to better themselves, which makes us a better department.
But that level of certification wasn't necessary for the workload that we had until NextEra moved in.
Well, actually, the certification is a job requirement. So when an inspector is hired, we give them a certain amount of time to get that certification. So it's actually not just a requirement to go out on Blattner's project. It's a regional building department requirement.
When you started this off, you said there were additional certifications they were having to get to qualify or be qualified for this high construction.
No, I said that the certification that was required for them to go out on site was the commercial certification to make sure that we had a guy trained in structural steel.
So then we'll have an inspector there all the time during the construction.
Whenever we're called out at periodic times during the process for an inspection, yes, we'll have someone out there.
Only when they call you for inspection?
We come out at the discretion, if you will, of the permit holder. The permit holder calls us out when they are ready for an inspection. Where I was talking about having multiple levels of oversight on the project, we're going to have multiple third-party engineers on site through every step of the process.
Well, if I remember right, the plan commission and also the board commission, inspectors are supposed to be outside all the time.
It would be absolutely technically infeasible for us to have an inspector there the whole time.
The board commission approved it, saying that you guys will be an inspector out there all the time.
Right. What they were talking about in that particular case is the county inspectors. They weren't necessarily talking about the regional building department.
You're supposed to be inspecting the towers and concrete and everything, and that's obviously your responsibility. So who's what?
Our responsibility is the structure. Our sole responsibility at RBD is permitting, plan review, and inspection of structure. So everything outside of that purvey has not been granted to us the approval to look at.
All right, thank you.
You've been with the building department on that. I guess you would also have what you approved, I guess, the minimum safe distance of the 900 feet down to the 650 feet, whatever it is, right?
That would actually be on the zoning side. It is probably on our plans, but once it's approved in zoning, all we're looking at is structure. And in this particular case, the only two entities, if you will, or departments that are going to be associated on our end with this project is structural or building and electric.
Okay, so you couldn't tell me why then the minimum safe distance went from 900 to the 600?
I think I can explain that. There were two different distances. One had to do with what's considered an ice throw distance. So as the blades are spinning, they can throw ice a certain distance, and I believe that was the 900 feet that's referred to. The other one is the fall height, and that is if the windmill falls down, it should reach out, to a certain distance. So those are the two different distances you're talking about. And depending on what you're trying to stay away from, whether it's a road or a house structure or something like that, a different distance applies.
Okay, I was concerned about the electromagnetic field of the wires, I guess.
I can't answer that.
However, I do know that the 900 feet is to a road. GE's setback of 900 feet. I carefully read the GE document. But I was hoping, sir, I was hoping to get your name and your phone number, just if I may. The one that you wouldn't mind one of us calling.
No. Absolutely not. Again, my name is John Welton. I'm the Chief Building Inspector, and my direct office line is 799-2842. 2842.
799-2842.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
You're outside engineer.
I honestly don't know that. That is up to the contractor to provide the outside engineers.
Can John take a second and kind of describe the process that he goes through, if that's okay with you folks, so you kind of have an understanding of why he fits where he fits? So when the project hits your desk, you just walk through that real quickly.
So on our end at the building department, the process starts out once it's approved in zoning. It comes to our plans department for approval for structural drawings, and in this particular case, only structural and electric because that's the only thing that applies. Once the plans are totally approved and everything is signed off, then we enter the permit process. So in this particular case, out of, Josh, 145 total, we have issued 30 permits so far for foundation only. So once the permit is issued and it's out of plans, then it kind of falls on my shoulders, if you will. The whole process at that point Whether it goes good or bad on the inspection side is up to me. So when I was talking about levels of oversight, if you will, we have a system in place where if we go out on an initial inspection and something is not right, just to hopefully put everyone's mind at ease, we stop that particular project. We reject it, and we don't let them move forward until it's corrected. Once we make it through the main structural piece of this, if you will, which is the foundation, and then we start going vertical with the unit, at that point we do on-site inspections for quality control, if you will, to make sure that the piece of equipment is put in as the manufacturer spec'd it out and requires. If we don't, then we're not doing our job. But with this particular piece of equipment, they've had it all engineered, if you will. So we're looking at an engineered design when we go out and make sure that it is put in properly. At that point, at the final inspection, which is more on the electric side, yes, we're doing a final inspection on the structural side, but on the electric side is when our electrical inspectors really start getting in there, making sure everything is put in properly, safely, and then on the building side, we do a final sign off on it, and then that particular permit or turbine, if you will, is complete.
I got one more question. Does concrete have to have a certain PSI on it?
Yes, it does.
Who's doing the measurements on that?
I actually don't know the answer to that question, but hopefully.
A third-party inspector to do that, to renewable energy. What he's asking is who is the testing company? So renewable, they're called renewable energy.
Loads that's coming in off the truck?
What's that?
Are they testing budget loads off each truck?
Yeah, they could be testing off the truck at the batch plant. We have to meet a 28-day break requirement.
Right.
So we'll get a 3-day, a 7-day, a 14-day, and a 28-day, and measure the progress.
What's the PSI going to be on these towers?
5,000 for the 3-day, or the 14-day. The 28 days, 5,000, and it goes periodically below that from the 3 to 7 to 14. 28 is going to be 5,000.
Well, I know when we do duck banks out of Fort Carson, it's up higher than that one, guys. So what is the overall concrete base going to be for PSI and job?
The overall is going to be 5,000.
5,000? How big is the tower? And how heavy is the tower? The windmills?
I got to pull up all the specs. I didn't write them all down with me, okay. But I can certainly get that information. You can look it up online if you want. It was part of our building permit.
Yeah, and if you wrote down my number, you're welcome to give me a call tomorrow.
Okay.
It's all in my documents too that we have on file at our office.
Okay.
Unfortunately, like on the county side,
Yeah,
they're very thick, so it's hard for me to memorize all of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question for you. Where is this testing company from? No, renewable, they got office in Texas, Minnesota, they get trouble. So it's not anybody local that we could trust. It's somebody that's bought and paid in to make sure that everything passes.
Project manager, you said circuit areas. Can you repeat which circuit areas have been approved? I'm looking at the map and they're not surrounded by a specific block, it just has an area.
Right. If you want to email me, I can send you a map that shows all the circuits, kind of the delineation of them. So, okay, so I think it's circuit 11 and 14, if I recall correctly.
11 and 14?
Yep. It should be the very northeast portion as well as the southern portion.
And those are the only ones that are allowed to be.
Those are the ones that have been approved by the county. Now, you just heard Regional Building say they haven't issued the permits for the foundations for the second circuit, which is 14. They've only released them for circuit 11. And if you need a better map, feel free to email me. I'll send you one electronically. It'll be easier to sit through. Excuse me, circuit 12 and circuit 14. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yeah, getting back to the roads just for a minute. Okay. If you realize that Judge Orr and Calhan Calhan Highway and Calhan Road South, that's like the major hub for the school. So I hope you guys can really sit down and take that in consideration for student safety and bus safety. That, you know, when the school's letting in and letting out, that you not travel them roads during that time.
Yeah, and I have a note on the school buses as well, so we have that. Yeah, thanks.
Are you referring to the portion of Calhan Highway south to 94? Is that what you're talking about?
Calhan Road South and Judge Orr, that's the main hub road.
Okay.
They all come down to the school here.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, while we're on roads, I'm on Houston. It's not designated as a haul road on here at all.
Okay.
I've been forced off the road twice by construction equipment, track equipment, no pilot cars. My wife's been forced off the road once. Every day. Saturday, we had about 40 friggin' trucks drive down it, and it's not a haul road.
What was the name of that road?
Eastern Road, yeah. Okay, well, we will certainly look into
Dan here
that.
got killed by a D6.
Was that, now let me ask you a question, during the week or weekend, what, can you give me an idea? Well, it does matter
Last
because,
Saturday, there was about 40 different trucks.
yeah, it matters to me because I have to get the inspector out on these roads, so that's why I'm asking you, so I know how to set it up. Okay. All right, thank you.
Houston's getting destroyed.
Yes, yes, sir.
I have experienced the flaggers, or so-called flaggers. One day I come down the road, come up on a flagger who's standing, well not standing, sitting in his vehicle on the opposite side of the road holding a stop sign. When I came upon him, I had no idea I needed to stop because he was not where he was supposed to be. He then jumped out and started waving his sign, so I stopped. Then he let me go. I went ahead. I'm coming up over a hill, and the flagger on the other end is sitting in his vehicle, and a semi is coming at me. They have no radios to communicate with one another, so the guy at each end has no idea what's being sent at him from the other end.
Okay.
That is dangerous.
And it's
Anyone else?
normal.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question regarding the Guthrie Road, the transmission line haul route.
Okay.
And I can't see it on this map, but are they coming in off of, from Ellicott onto Scott and then down Guthrie?
We're going to pull it up on the overhead here.
While we're doing that, any other questions? Yes, Ms. Deborah.
Yes, there is great concern about speed limits and
Okay.
of course the carelessness, aggressive driving of a lot of the haulers, which normally would not be allowed on any city or state highway to that kind of driving. What are the speed limits when they're not posted, and when they are posted within residential areas? What should they be? There needs to be more communication about that, because it's just like anything goes out there. It's like the Roadrunner City. People are getting run off the road, then trucks are just parking wherever they want to block the road. There's got to be more presence of El Paso County Sheriff out there as well, instead of it just being a bunch of free-range chickens running everybody over.
Yeah, the sheriff office does have an east office, and they're starting to populate that area with deputies, so you'll see more of those good folks out there, so.
Just that activity,
Sure.
more people to get after.
Okay. So do we have the map up? So real quick, let me ask this question. What I heard was Paint Mine Roads, Barrage Road, Harrisville Road, and Easton Road. Is that correct? Okay, sorry. Thank you. And then the asphalt testing was answered, correct? Speed limit signs, flaggers and radios. You're talking about the GE setbacks. We'll look into that. I have 2 notes on that. The school buses and drop-offs. We'll look at the times that happens, correct? Okay. High Prairie Point and Hannah Road water refilling. We'll look into that. Funds for the fire department. We'll certainly look into that. We'll always take care of our fire departments. 1 second, sir. Judge Orr and Calhan. Okay. What else?
Also had a question on some of their hours of operation on these county roads.
Okay.
Like I said, last night we heard a gate break coming through on Funk Road at 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
certainly unnecessary.
That's a little late, I think, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
On Harrisville Road, I noticed on one of your other slides, you said that Blattner's supposed to maintain all roads. Is tearing up the pavement on the road going to be for 20 years maintained?
So-
To me, it's not. We've gone totally backwards.
That's-
That road was paved about 20 years ago. We moved out for 22 years ago, and it's now all gravel.
That's-
We have our ranch for sale. We have realtors come to the house and say, my people don't even want to look at this property because that road is in such disrepair.
Okay.
So is that maintaining, or is that now tearing up what was there for 20 years?
So two things are happening. One is you had about 2 inches of asphalt and what we would call chip and seal mixed. So it was kind of a mixture of road over 20 years and patched. The trucks just literally obliterated the road. We know that. So we got with Blattner, and what you're going to get is a hard base. You're going to get a concrete mix that'll be on that road. When the project is over, that road will be you'll have new asphalt on that road when it's done. When the project is complete, and I can't tell you exactly when that's due, so.
The project's due to be completed by the end of the year. Hauling obviously will occur, it'll end before that. So once they're done hauling, that would be the appropriate time to go in and resurface that.
And then for the Delman Road, what happens with Judge Orr then? Because that's probably what's going to happen with Judge Orr. I know Judge Orr's got a lot more pavement on it. I've traveled these roads for over 22 years. I've seen that one be totally destroyed before. So my concern is now that I drive 100 miles a day back and forth to the Springs 5 days a week, that now I'm not driving on pavement anymore and I'm driving on dirt roads, whether they've got concrete base or not. It still is a dirt road when I drive on it.
Yeah, and Judge Orr will be looked at too. The contract is to put the roads back in the same condition they were when the project started.
I realized that it also stated that they had to maintain them. This is not maintaining, this is taking off what we've been used to for.
Yeah, unfortunately though, they couldn't keep it on there. That's the problem. It would have just been even worse. And so they went to
When they decide to go north of us now, because that's the new plan, phase 2, north of Harrisville and north of our property, that this also be looked in a little bit closer before the plans go through.
You're talking about Blasingame?
No, I'm talking about north of us. We're on
Well,
Bears Road.
Okay, Bears Road.
South of Harrisville, phase 2 that we know is currently going on, even though nobody will tell us about it.
And also, in reference to the roads that Carl is talking about, people are already needing to replace their windshields from the trucks throwing up the gravel. That's not something you would have seen with the concrete. Replacing a windshield is not cheap. We realize that we have to drop back, but this is a degradation. And I would like it noted that we are experiencing the degradation of broken windshields from a project that wasn't supposed to impact us.
Okay, we'll let Craig talk about the lines now.
I don't remember who it was, had a question about Guthrie Road.
That's me standing.
Okay, good, that was opportunistic that you were already standing. This is Guthrie right here.
Right.
So that's the only portion of Guthrie
My question is,
should experience
are you
hauling.
coming in off of Ellicott, down Scott, and then on to Guthrie? I can't see it from this map.
Looks like it would be coming over from McClellan down Scott to Guthrie. Does that sound right? So the red line is the transmission line.
Right, I see, yeah, it's the,
And here's McClellan. The hauling would occur this way.
so what is this road here? That's what I'm asking. Is this Scott Road?
That should be Scott.
So
No,
you're-
it's not.
Okay.
It's Guthrie.
Well, Scott, it jags. Will someone help me out here? Because this is how it works. So it comes down here. What I'm concerned about, if this is Scott Road and this is Guthrie, I realize where the transmission line is. I've seen the markers.
Yeah, lane down.
This is probably the most populated area to come in through. You've got the wild cat sanctuary right there, and you've got all sorts of homes. This coming down Spear will take you right to the family that's having the transmission lines put on their property. And you will hit just a few homes, and then this is all empty, and you won't have any kind of impact to the local people. So can we put that on your list to investigate?
Okay,
Just have that
so
route.
the route come down Spear, and you'll be a lot less impact. Have you talked to the Big Cat farm and the impact that that's going to have for that?
No, I mean, we didn't talk to individual property owners. This is a 29-mile transmission line.
No,
So if there are questions, yeah, we can talk to Blattner about it.
We'll check into that. We need to end the meeting here. Yes, sir. One last question.
One more question, and this basically concerns the planning department engineer. What you're really concerned out here about these bridges, all the weight limits on these bridges have came down. They used to have weight limits on them, and every one of them has been taken down.
So let's talk about that.
I'm worried about my taxes being raised when this project's done because the bridges are destroyed.
Okay, and that is a concern, and that has been addressed. And our folks are out there weighing the trucks. We're making sure that they're not over the weight limit, and the bridges are being inspected constantly.
I want to hear that from the county people.
You're talking to the county guy in charge of bridges.
Because the bridges are getting destroyed.
You just heard what I said. I said that we are inspecting those bridges, and at this point, there's been no damage to the bridges.
Well, how do we know what's in them trucks? All the signs has been taken down to the weight limit.
And I understand that, and they're not, but they are being monitored very closely, sir.
The weight limits are all okay. Why is this one just south of Calhan, 20-mile-an-hour limit for trucks?
Because it's tandem, they're bringing in tandem loads, so they brought it down to 20 miles an hour so they can monitor the bridge itself. Yeah, we don't need to go over a bridge 100 miles an hour with a heavy load.
Well, it didn't say 100 mile an hour, but normal highway speeds.
No, we want them.
Should be okay if that bridge is safe for the loads they're carrying.
The bridge has been inspected and it's safe. Okay? One more question and then we'll call it a night. Yes?
The one road here in Calhan in the city limits, is it covered too because it's being torn up pretty bad? Of course, it was bad to start off with, but it's worse now because of the trucks that have gone over. It's this road right over here, Calhan Highway, or Yoder Street in Calhan Highway as it goes out to our house.
I know that we're doing a joint project with the city of Calhan to work on Calhan Highway itself, and we've done that. I'm not quite sure on the coverage, but I'll get back with you, or I'll put it up. Okay. Thank you.
Can we get a copy of the video?
Absolutely. I think if we, Dave, you'll have to answer that one. I don't know. I think we can put it online. I think you can download it from there.
We can post it on YouTube, and we have a link out there. You can look at it.
So I want to thank.
If somebody needs a copy, I'll make a copy.
Ma'am, I'll talk to you separately. I want to thank everybody because, no, I think it's 8 o'clock is what I understand. Oh, we have till 8:30. I'm sorry, I thought we had till 8 o'clock. I had to clean all this up. I'm thinking
You have a copy of that last
yes,
one?
what question?
I just started working
Guys.
a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
People ask me about the wells. They've noticed their water pressure's dropped, and some of them said their wells have gone dry.
Okay.
And this is in close proximity where Kuna's wells are, and it's both property, like household wells as well as agricultural wells. And then I've also heard reports that there's some water missing from the county's resource pool, anywhere from $20 to $200 million. I don't know if anyone's addressed or talked to you about that.
I'm not aware of any water missing from the county resource pools. So, but I will look into, we have not received any complaints of dry wells or wells with lower pressure that I'm aware of. So.
Should those people refer, what department should, if those people contact you, should they refer their water pressure?
If folks are having issues with their wells, either water pressure or quantity, the state engineer's office has jurisdiction over all groundwater and surface water in the state of Colorado. El Paso County does not have jurisdiction over water. So the state engineer's office. So if there is an issue regarding overpumping or alleged overpumping, they would be the proper entity to direct those questions to.
Where are they getting their water for dust abatement?
It's my understanding that they're getting it down off Handle Road from Mr. Kunau's well.
We did present to the Groundwater Commission up in Denver that Mr. Kunau at the well in which they're drawing has 97 acre-feet per year. 97 acre-feet does not cover the water for this project. The reason it doesn't is because they also have existing wells which are within that which are drawing the same 97 acre-feet. When I presented it to the Groundwater Commission, They refuse to respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone from NextEra here, and I do apologize for being late.
Yes.
I'm curious, have you folks, do you have a cost of what it would be for 4 miles of buried lines over the above ground cost?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm the construction manager representing NextEra Energy, and all I can tell you is the current progress of the project, what we're doing now, what the schedule of the plans are for the future.
Is that some information you can get and answer back to me? What?
Yeah, whatever. Oh, the cost? No, I'd have to refer you back to my home office. I'm not sure I can disclose any of that information.
That was part of the original plan to bury it underground, so I'm a little concerned and confused as to why your company has no cost basis for an initial proposal to go underground, but you have some projected costs for something above ground.
I think most of you have talked to David Gill with NextEra. He was the project manager on NextEra's side of it. The hotline number that we put up, he's one of the individuals that those messages go to. If you'd like to call the hotline number and ask that question, he would be the appropriate person to provide you with that response.
Okay, thank you.
I got one last quick question. What's the temperature for the concrete floor? When in for?
Mark, you want to answer the temperature question?
We had for our concrete, it has to be at lower 80s replacement temperature.
How about the air temperature around?
The
About
ambient
30
temperature,
degrees?
there is no set temperature there, but that does influence your placing temperature.
Okay, so you guys are on whenever?
Well, we try to do our floors early in the morning when the temperatures are cooler.
How long does it take for the foundation to set up?
Well, we do a concrete break in 3 days to see what kind of breaks we have then. Typically, out of our 5,000 psi concrete, after 3 days, we're into the 3,500, 4,000 psi range.
Now, on the public here, can we get copies of those records and the breaks?
Absolutely.
Contact.
We submit all our records to the Pikes Peak Regional for the jurisdiction in our third party. I'm not sure. I mean, you'd have to contact that number on how we can pass that out.
Hello again. All right, so I got a good one for you. Okay, no jokes. Everything that we get during the inspection process is public record. Okay, so it's real easy. Anything that you do on your house, anything that your neighbor does, anything that NextEra and Blattner does on their project, it's 100% public record. So all you would have to do at that point is go on our website, type in the address of the particular project you just want to look at, and everything is right there. It'll pull up on the permit. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I just got one question. Somebody asked about water, and so that is my main concern because there's nobody in this room can live without water. So could you address the water problem a little bit better than you did, saying it's not your problem?
I'm not sure I quite worded it that way. Again, we would love to regulate water because we know that is a huge issue, not just here, the south end of the county, the southeast corner of the county, but we can't. The state engineer's office is the appropriate entity for addressing questions regarding water. Now, what I can tell you is they have inspectors that they can send out and they can actually put a meter on certain wells if there's a complaint that's filed with them. That's the best I can do for you. I can't call that entity and say, we have a problem down here in the county. It doesn't work that way. You have to call, if you have a concern over the water, call the state engineer's office. You can even go on their records online and identify exactly which well it is that you have concern with, because all of those are permitted. So if you do have a question, call them. They are the entity. They have inspectors that is all they do. And if you're not getting a response from them, let me know. I can try calling them and say, hey, I've had a question. Can you get back to this individual? And again, I gave up my information. I mean, I can't be any more sincere than to say, if you have a complaint or you have an issue, call me. This is all I'm doing every day, is dealing with this project. So if you have a concern, send it to me.
So when the project was being presented to the county for consideration, did you take the time to call the water board and say, how impacting would 200 million gallons of water be for the folks out in eastern El Paso County for this project? Was that even considered, done, and what was their response?
It was not done, and it was not considered because the county regulations do not allow us to do that.
So you can just arbitrarily say, we don't care about the folks in eastern El Paso County and their water needs because we're going to allow a business deal to go through because it's a business deal. We don't care what they do. We're not even going to inspect their building, what they're doing. We don't really care. They're going to build something larger than any structure in Colorado Springs, and we don't even care. We'll take $50,000 for firefighting, and that doesn't even hire one firefighter, let alone any type of emergency response services out of Falcon.
And I don't want the idea of we don't care confused with we don't have jurisdiction. That is a very sensitive issue in the state of Colorado. That is why it is under the authority of the state, not individual counties, because if you let individual counties regulate water, you'd have counties battling each other because water traverses across jurisdictional boundaries. That is why it's with the state of engineering.
On the approving authority to review that information to see if it was feasible.
Again, it was not in the regulations that the Board of County Commissioners adopted for a process like what they went through. If it were a subdivision, under state statute, we have that authority to make them go through a water review to determine water quality, quantity, and dependability sufficiency. This was not a subdivision. This was a zoning process. Under state statute, our abilities to regulate in that area are very different.
That's very apparent to all of us in this room tonight.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you said the county does have jurisdiction over the bridges, is that correct? That's correct. We're still concerned about these bridges. Can you tell me why they took the signs down on the weight limits on these bridges?
I can't tell you.
Which one are you referring to?
I'm referring to the one that's going right up here and the one that's on Judge Orr Road in the ditch. They used to all have weight limit signs and how many actual trucks could cross a certain amount of weight, and none of them have it anymore.
We have an engineering firm that comes out every 2 years and inspects all of our bridges that are over 20 feet in length. And they require us to post a bridge if they determine that structurally the bridge needs to be posted. So if a sign has come down and it was approved by them, or if they said that you don't need a sign for that, then we'll take that down. If someone has removed a sign that shouldn't have been removed, how recent was this?
The one on Judge Orr was posted not even 2 months ago, and it's gone now. And the one that's up on this road, I don't know if there was one there or not.
And let's see, which road is that you?
Judge Orr is the main hard road.
Yeah, Judge Orr, we can check on that one. What's the other?
The other one is Calhan Highway.
Oh, Calhan Highway?
About a mile out here on Calhan Highway.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're required to have a load posting on it if the structural engineer tells us that it's required. Okay. So we'll check into these two structures and see. The one on Calhan Highway, I can tell you, this is the one that's like a mile and a half south of Highway 24. That does not require posting.
Okay, thank you.
Now, why wouldn't it require a posting?
Because it's got the structural capacity for handling a vehicle that is allowed on the roads.
Really?
Yes.
But not at over 20 mile an hour.
We have stated that 20 miles an hour is the max for the trucks. And we can,
There's no other bridges in the state that they require trucks to slow to 20 mile an hour across.
we felt that that was the best thing to do for that structure.
Why? Why was that the best thing to do?
I'm Rich Harvey. I'm an engineer with the county. The problem we have with some of these bridges here is that they're fine for the traffic loading that they get over the life of the bridge. On the bridge on Calhan Highway, that road is fine with a number of passes of trucks going over the roadway. Basically what's happening with this project is you're getting 15 years worth of loads happening within half a year, give or take. So to keep that impact down, what the county is asked to have happen is to reduce the impact loading by slowing the trucks down and putting them center of the roadway, if you will, so that the loading is spread to different girders, if you will, than traffic ordinarily travels on that roadway. As far as Judge Orr Road goes, we haven't had that with posted bridges for any significant problems for, I know at least 7 years. If there's any load postings on Calhan on Judge Orr Road, it'd be a temporary problem, not anything more significant than that. Sir?
They put that load posting on there when they were hauling gravel out of from Soapweed coming down. Like I said, they used to haul it the other way too, but it's the one right there in the middle of that dip, and it used to have a capacity load on there because, like I said, they used to haul gravel down that road, and they were tearing it up, and that's what I'm saying. When this project's done and they leave, we don't want to be stuck here with bad bridges that are destroyed, and then the county raise our taxes to pay for the bridges.
Oh, we don't want bad bridges either. We drive on them too. I can say for the purposes of protecting the county's road network, we asked the developer or the contractor to post bonds or letter of credit of $70,000 per mile for the paved roads, $45,000 per mile for the gravel roads, and $30,000 per mile for the chip seal roads. That totals up to about $4 million, and we're holding that as a letter of credit, which is different from a bond. Oftentimes we get a bond, and the problem with a bond is it's like insurance, and if you ever wrecked your car and had to deal with the insurance company, you don't always get as much as you'd like. With a letter of credit, if we have problems with the roads that the contractor is dealing with, we can actually go to the bank and get actual money, not a promise and an attorney, no offense, Amy, that so we have $4 million effectively in the bank here for any problems that crop up related to the roads.
As long as they keep the money in that account.
Well, the bonding process, I'm sorry, the letter of credit requires them to do that. Ma'am?
Are those engineering reviews available as well? Of all the bridges?
For the bridges, sure.
Yeah,
Come on over, Deb, I'll show you, but it's a pretty good, come on
I'm
over.
a fast learner.
yeah, every 2 years, yeah, the county gets taxed, and the county sends tax dollars off to the state, and the state gives some back in the form of inspections by an independent inspection outfit every 2 years. And they'll come by, and they have usually an outfit out of Denver, I don't know who's doing it anymore, and they'll look at the bridge, tell us if we need to do anything structural to it, and if there are any problems with scour underneath the bridge that comes up.
You said they came out special for this project, right?
Yeah, they are monitoring that bridge every week, and on the weekends they're out there looking at that thing. So that's what I say, that was a big deal for us too. Let's make sure they're not tearing up our bridge, because the two crossings were replaced. So that's, we're monitoring that bridge.
We do 2 years anyway.
Weights of the different vehicles, because I know if they're going anywhere on a highway, they have to have those weight records. Where are those kept with the county?
Those aren't kept with the county that I'm aware of, they're kept with the driver itself on the vehicle.
And I assume that these are the contractor copies. I work in a truck stop. I know we have to keep copies of those. So I was just wondering if the county gets copies of those, or you let them do their own thing.
If the contractor wishes to run a load in excess of what the state permits, or the feds, they have to apply for an oversized/overweight load permit. One of the subcontractors on this project did ask if they could run higher weight loads. I forget the weight, 92,000. Anyway, they did ask that, and the county reviewed that and denied that application. So the overweight loads, and this is for gravel, the overweight loads aren't happening on the county roads. Now, this is county road, by the way. I'm speaking strictly of county roads, not state roads. If anybody has any curiosity about the state bridge on Highway 94 in front of Harrisville, or 24, I'm sorry, that's a state bridge, not a county one. And the deck has got some issues, and the state's aware of that. Sir?
You said their letter of credit amounted to about $70,000 per mile of paved road they travel?
Paved roads, 70,000.
Okay. Is that the cost to pave a mile of road?
That's what the county's been seeing historically. We took that as an average of our costs, and John, I think you compiled that. Do you have a specific question on how?
The cost to pave a road?
Yeah, that's maintenance on a paved one. Is that including demolition?
Yeah, that was maintenance on a paved road, and I don't recall the exact thickness, but basically what we looked at was an overlay on a specific road for a mile, and that's how we determined that value.
Okay, is that going to cover the repavement of 5 miles to Harrisville at $70,000 a mile?
Yes. Well, no, Harrisville was originally a chip seal road, and as a chip seal road, it's a lower classification, but we've got something strange going on there.
Harrisville, the first 5 miles of Harrisville to 24 is paved.
Yes, it's the first 5 miles has a paved surface that's composed of a variety of things, about approximately 2.5 inches of chip seal over 20 years of applications, but it's also combined with a lot of patches that are thicker than that and some shoulders that are thinner than that, and the last 2 miles of gravel. So the challenge there is what's supposed to go back. We have a contract, in effect, I know that's the correct term, we have a contract with the contractor to put back what was there or better. We're talking with the contractor about, well, do you really want to put 2.5 inches of chip seal back in? For the price, it might be more cost effective for the contractor to put back actual hot mix asphalt, which is actually stronger and be a better deal for the county. The contractor's putting in cement stabilized subgrade below that, which is a very stout subgrade, far superior to what's out there, or what was out there a month ago. I know it's all rubbleized right now, but after you end up with a cement stabilized subgrade and a chip seal or paved surface on top of it, you'll end up with a consistent surface all the way through it. You won't have 2 inches here, 2.5 inches here, a 6-inch patch, and intermediate potholes. So you'll end up with a smoother ride when you're done, as well as a consistent product. Did that answer your question, or?
Well, I was gonna, is 70,000 gonna cover putting that back to original?
Yes. Sir?
Actually, my question's not for you, I don't think, sir. It's whoever's dealing with the drivers.
Okay.
Who'd like to?
They're all looking at me. That must be me.
All right.
How would you like me to deal with them? Okay, go ahead. What's the concern?
Concern is public safety and the drivers of these trucks. You've heard many people here tonight voice their concern. My personal experience is on Saturday morning at 9:35, I was eastbound on US 24, heading towards Falcon. When I was passed by a large truck at the intersection of Garrett and 24. He was moving in the same direction as I was. He passed me on the right-hand side of my vehicle at approximately 70 miles an hour. I was going 50 miles an hour. He was in a right-hand turn only lane for Garrett Road to head east. He also happened to be going to the NextEra work site. I followed him because I was delivering hay out there. In doing so, he came to your staging area at Blasingame and Harrisville Road. When I got out and took pictures of his license plate, Colorado truck number 812 Victor Kilo Hotel, Colorado plates, and his Texas trailer of X-ray 18956, and a picture of the driver, his two-word reply to me was, "Fudge you."
What did you do with that information?
I called a gentleman by the name of Mark with Blakener, who assured me that he would be off the job immediately.
He was removed. I'm Mark.
Was he removed?
Yes, he was.
Mark, did you receive my text message? Are you Mark, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mark, you spoke with me. You were very pleasant, and I appreciate your courtesy. However, I sent you another text message, which I could show you on my phone, which said 2.5 hours after you said you fired him, I saw him loaded at Mark Scheffel turning left to go back to Calhan. Are you telling me that he is no longer on the road?
I informed my superintendent to go have him removed from the project, and he told me he did.
All right, so who from the county is checking on that?
Well, if you called him, and I didn't get this information, I can't act on it if you don't give it to me as well. That's why I asked you, who did you give the information to?
Well, apparently I gave it to Mr. Mark.
Right. So, I mean, we'd be more than glad to address it. In fact, I would probably turn it over to the sheriff's office if I had gotten the information from
Then
you.
what is the oversight by the county? This question was brought up at the 5th of February. What is the oversight by the county, and how are they being paid for the extra law enforcement and the extra presence in dealing with these complaints such as myself?
So, again, I didn't receive the complaint, nor did anybody in my office receive the complaint. If we had received the complaint from you, it would have been given to the East Division, and they would have investigated it, okay? And so that's how that process would have worked. But I need that information in order to do that.
Are you available after the meeting to take
I
the
am.
complaint?
I absolutely am.
All right, thanks, sir.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem. And I'm Jim, by the way, so.
Jim,
Okay.
what's your
Yes.
Just wondering, do you have one-way communication or two-way communication with Mark?
Well, that's a quick answer, thanks. Well, I mean, Mark would have to tell us that he had to remove a driver, but that's really, Mark works for NextEra. So he doesn't work for the county. So Mark would report to.
What is the oversight then? I'll ask it again. Do you have a responsibility of any type to protect us from a county standpoint of employees of a subcontractor or the primary contractor or anyone else?
Absolutely, and we're out there doing it. I've got inspectors out there all the time, to include the weekends. So we're out there. I can't catch everything. So the bottom line is we're out there.
All right.
I'll be more than glad to show you the schedule, so.
I guess we need your name and your phone number to make
Sure.
sure we call the correct person.
It's Jim Reed, R-E-I-D. And my number is on that complaint line that you have, because you won't catch me in the office as many meetings as I have, so I did give you copies. The 520 number is the number that it'll get to me. Do you want one of these?
Dispatch number?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I do still have a water question.
Okay.
Because the groundwater division, Colorado groundwater division, did not answer my concern. The honest truth is we already have wells down in the Ellicott area that have dropped suddenly and dramatically. I'm in the process of collecting the names, but I've lost confidence in any kind of a response from the Colorado groundwater division. And so, is there anybody in any of their offices that could do a courtesy call to them and say, please questions?
If you can provide me with specific wells that you're concerned with, I mean, I talk to the state engineer's office almost on a weekly basis. I'd be happy to call them. I mean, it's government, right? It's the state government. So if there is a complaint that you need to file, you need to go through their channels. All I can do is bring it up to their attention. If they're not responding to your request, I'd be happy to call them. But I can't file a complaint for you. That has to come from you.
I'm just actually, at this point, I'm asking that they would respond to that.
Okay.
They were very polite when they collected the information.
Yeah, if you have a specific request or specific wells that you're concerned with, and you can send me that information, I would be happy to forward it on to them.
Frankly, what they told me is not to worry, it's a chocolate cake and it won't have problems. And I know that our ground is not chocolate cake.
Can you get that information?
Yeah, just send it to me and I'll see what I can do.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Amy, the lawyer.
Amy, the lawyer.
Amy, the lawyer. Okay. Can you elaborate on the comment that you made up here that you said that there's, what was it?
The people that are trying to stop this, there's no way that that's going to happen.
I don't recall saying that. I think someone made the comment.
No, you did.
No,
you did.
No, what I said, and what I truly believe, the court process is a very important one, right? But to maintain the integrity of what happens in the courtroom, I mean, we have to let that process work its way through. So I don't I mean, I have my own personal opinions. It's my job to advocate on behalf of the board. And although it might not feel like this today, on behalf of the taxpayers, because when people sue the county, they're necessarily trying to get something from the county, which costs money. So please understand my role is to advocate, but I'm certainly offering no public opinion as to where I think the lawsuit's going at this point.
No, you responded to, it wasn't him, but the guy was standing over here, you said something, so we'll look at it.
Yeah, happy to the extent that I misstated something, but again, I have my opinions, that's my job. I just don't think it's appropriate for me to share them at this forum.
Yes, I understand you're the county attorney and you're here, and I really respect that. But I still understand why Amy Lathen isn't here. She is our elected official and she should be at this meeting.
I completely understand, but those of you that have worked with lawyers before, we rarely say when we're involved in litigation, hey, let's go out and talk about it.
You're here.
Well, I'm the lawyer.
You're the county attorney.
But I'm not a witness. I'm not a witness to the lawyer, and although there are some specific allegations made towards me, I'm not a party to the action. I'm an advocate. So it's really, again, I know you guys expressed some disbelief about it, but it was really only at my direction that we don't have county commissioner representation here. And please understand that that's because of where the litigation is at this point. I mean, that's a matter of public record. There are hearings being talked about. We were in court earlier today. That's all open to the public, so that's certainly something if folks want to track, you certainly can.
To my knowledge, she hasn't attended one meeting out there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I've attended a couple meetings for, I think, the El Paso County Property Rights Coalition, and you misrepresented them terribly. And now correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand, the information and there are 3 suits they've got against the county commissioners are to correct their decisions and looking to get them to adhere to constitutional law in those decisions, but they're not asking for any money from the county.
You just want the
I'm sorry. I'm not explaining things very well. You're right. At issue is what's called a Rule 106. That's the mechanism by which people can challenge a quasi-judicial action.
Well, but you accused them of trying to take money from the county. They're essentially trying to establish or stand up for their constitutional rights and wanting representation from our county commissioners, which our county commissioners have not done.
But you have to understand, anytime somebody sues the county, that necessarily costs resources. It's my job to defend it. It was in that context that I made those comments.
You said they wanted money.
No.
But beyond that, if the county commissioners just represented the people.
I said they necessarily want to exact something from the
represented the people, we wouldn't have this. But regretfully, NextEra put that 1.6 million in their pockets for re-election, and our county commissioners got bought off.
I understand those statements are made, sir. Any other questions about the litigation? I want to make it very clear. I started my comments at the outset with, this is my business, okay? People fought and died and continue to fight and die for centuries for our right to have the court process. It's very, very important. I respect people who want to litigate. I respect people who want courts to hear their disputes. I'm just asking for the same respect in return for what it is my job to do.
Being the county attorney, can you help protect our bridges out here?
I'm not an engineer, is the problem. I'm not an engineer. Everyone knows we've got development agreements, we've got financial assurances. So yes, you know, I don't see one at this point, but there are legal mechanisms, and we talked about that at the hearing, that can be taken down the road if the agreements aren't adhered to.
And we have legal rights when the ice starts flying off of these windmills and hits a car or whatever?
Everybody has legal rights. Just go back up to the county.
Gentlemen with the bridges, can I see you after the meeting?
Sure.
Yeah, let's come over. All right, yes ma'am.
I live in Speak on behalf of the drivers. We live on South Calhan Highway, and I'm up and down these roads every day, feed my cattle early in the morning. They have been nothing but polite. I've not seen one of them speak, not out of control. There may be one here and there, but for the most part, I cannot believe how many trucks are out there. It's amazing. I'm up very early in the morning, and these guys are up before me. They've been nothing but courteous to me, and I just want it to be known.
Thank you for that.
I want to know when's the first curbing going to be. I mean, let's have some positive. Never.
All the power is going to California. It doesn't even benefit us.
Okay, so who am I seeing after the meeting? Everyone. How does that work?
I'd like to talk to you after the meeting too, Jim.
Pardon me?
I'd like to talk to you after the meeting.
Absolutely. So if we're good, can we end the meeting and I'll talk to the 3 or 4 or 40 that want to talk to me specifically, and I can address some of your stuff directly. Thank you. Listen, your time is valuable. Don't think, are these meetings helpful for you? Would you like to do more? Yes. Okay, let me get with my engineer and we'll set up some more meetings so we can have this discussion. I like the open dialogue, and I will tell you this, I do appreciate the respect. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a good evening.
I will tell you that we will post this on the El Paso County YouTube channel. If you go to the home page of the county, you'll see the YouTube icon in the upper left-hand corner. Click on it, it'll take you right to the YouTube channel, and we will get it posted probably sometime tomorrow, for sure by the next day.